Good time of day, guys. My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 8 Matsuribayashi. Last episode, we had a pretty long chapter, which isn't even technically over yet. With the mountain dogs fighting back. They caught Tomatake, they caught Irie, but then he escaped, thanks to Shion and Kasai. Shion and Kasai got knocked out, and now they have Rika. A lot happened, and it was a really good episode, I think. But now we're probably 3 minutes away from this part being over anyways, because that's just a waste of my luck. But whatever, let's just go. Have we ever been looking for you, Rika-san? You're such an important person, so you can't just disappear like that, you know? That's against the rules. Meep. Rika-san, we'll take you back to the clinic. Everyone else is free to go. The assault unit that led Rika away headed back into the basement. They were about to break the rules, too. You aren't going to keep that promise, are you? A promise? What are you talking about? Whoa there! We don't want you to bite your tongue! Hey! As Rika tried to run, Okonogi grabbed her fragile arm. She fought back, but her resistance meant nothing against him. One of the mountain dogs took out a syringe from a case. It shouldn't kill her, but it would probably put Rika to sleep. Takano, after all, didn't need a chatty Rika. She just needed a live queen carrier. If Rika got that shot, that will mean the end of this world. Before Rika could scream, the other dog covered her mouth. Hurry up and give her the shot! The dog with the syringe drew closer to Rika's arm. Rika was being grabbed from behind and her mouth was covered. There was no way for her to fight. I believe. Even if I'm asleep, I believe. Rika kept repeating that in her mind. She believed that someone would wake her up. And that the first thing she'd see when she opened her eyes would be her beloved friends. It happened all of a sudden. The man with the syringe spun twice in the air and dropped to the ground. Nobody, including Okonogi, could understand this sudden phenomenon. It defied the very laws of physics. I'm assuming it's Akasaka. Rika couldn't understand either. The man who was holding Rika from behind spoke up. I made it. Yo. His voice had such a heavy feeling imbued in it. Yep, it is. I've regretted it in countless worlds. Whenever I realized it, it was too late. Who are you? The others took a few steps back, away from Rika and the man holding her. There are many units within the Mountain Dogs, so often its members don't remember each other's faces. There were just too many units, so nobody really paid attention. All of the Mountain Dogs were more or less well built, but this man had an excellent physique. Even Okonogi noticed that he'd never seen anyone like that in one of his units before. Rather, he actually wanted to recruit him. But... This is what I've been longing to tell you all this time. Rika-chan, I came to help you! Yo, fucking presentation. A difference in presentation. Akasaka! The hands that were holding Rika left her shoulders. They left ever so gently. Damn you! And as soon as they did, they transformed into a pair of furious fists, which implanted themselves in the faces of the men attacking him from behind. You go, man! They flew through the air. Akasaka hit those two without even turning around. 5 members of the Mountain Dogs surrounded Akasaka. However, he didn't even see them. He could only feel the deep emotion of finally being able to do what he had been longing to. and the 5 of them sensed it. That maybe, just maybe, he didn't even care that they were there. Oh. What are you doing just standing there? Get him! On Okonogi's signal, the 5 mountain dogs bore down on Akasaka. Rika-chan, stay low! Okay. Rika dropped to the ground, and Akasaka was left standing. And he just goes full fucking Street Fighter on them. Akasaka, who came back to keep a promise he made with a girl 5 years ago. But his promise was worth more than 5 years. Rika knew that. Akasaka probably understood it too. The promise went back 100 years. For 100 years, he regretted not being able to save her from the conspiracy. He believed that one day there would be a miracle, and he could travel back to this day. That was why he continued to train himself. His strong will and Rika's wish made that miracle happen. That one and only miracle allowed Akasaka to be here in Hinamizawa in June 1983. Yo, pissed Akasaka. The first one went down in the time it took Okonogi to blink. Lowering himself to grapple Akasaka had proven fatal. He wasn't so soft as to let such perfect openings go by. Akasaka's hand smashed into the back of the man's head. His blow was powerful enough to smash a pillar of ice or shatter a mountain of tiles. As it happened, Akasaka was holding back a little so that his target wasn't too injured. Akasaka goes all out. From the very first shot. That's why he needs only one shot. He is unrelenting. Well, he sure fucking is, just Dynasty Warriorsing a fuck ton of dudes. Akasaka's well-trained fists continued to knock down the mountain dogs. One member for every time Okonogi blinked. One hit per opponent was all Akasaka needed. This was the true essence of karate. Akasaka's colleagues praised and feared his power. His power is like armor-piercing ammunition. Okay. Sure. Weapons were useless against him. No matter how hard his victim tried to protect himself, it meant nothing to Akasaka. But he was too strong for the mountain dogs to even understand that. It was as if he was a giant they had to crane their necks up to see. Akasaka didn't even give them time to think. Someone from the mountain dogs must have called for backup. About a dozen more members had arrived. Don't worry, Rika-chan. As long as I'm here, I won't let them touch you!
Neat. I'll draw some pictures while I wait then.
As Rika stayed low to the ground, she picked up a stick and started to carve into the dirt. Fucking Christ. That made Okonogi even angrier, but he calmed himself down. Then, the warrior's intuition resting in Okonogi's blood came to a realization. Numbers didn't matter. Even the full force of the mountain dogs wouldn't be able to defeat this monster. All the combat units were still down in the basement. There was no way they could take him.
Okay, I guess I have to take you down, huh? By the way, I remember you now. Your face brings back memories. Boy, you've sure grown, huh?
You? It can't be. I still think that's like the dumbest fucking twist in the entire story. That Okonogi was the dude that fought Akasaka back in 1978 or whatever. That's in Himatsubushi. That's so stupid to me. But whatever, let them duel, I don't care.
You don't recognize me? It sure has been a while, huh? You've grown a hell of a lot. Good to see you again.
It had been 5 years. This was the man Akasaka fought when he was investigating the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Akasaka had still been inexperienced then.
I was ordered to go easy on you, so I held back. But I won't hold back today. And that fat guy won't come help you either.
As he goes straight through the door.
Still, you sure have improved a lot in the past 5 years, huh? I'm happy. I've been hoping for something like this for 5 long years. The rest of you, you stay out of this. He's mine.
Okonogi took off all of his equipment and threw it on the ground. He loosened one button and then positioned himself. Seeing that, Akasaka realized he was somewhat capable and narrowed his eyes in vigilance. Okonogi took that as an insult. That Akasaka only thought he was somewhat capable. His behavior was telling Okonogi that he viewed him on the same level as the other small fry. Okay, yo! Fighting stance. Akasaka first moved to take up his stance and avoid getting Rika involved. Akasaka hadn't even moved one bit until just then. Okonogi could easily see that Akasaka was extremely strong, but at the same time, he thought he would be fairly simple to take down. Karate may be a martial art, but nowadays it was just a sport. The army combat Okonogi trained in was completely different. Obviously Akasaka had studied a lot, but it's all just child's play. All he learned were routine moves and forms. Besides, karate moves are fairly straightforward. Okonogi was confident that he could fight any karate pro and win. Okonogi started leaning onto his toes and using his meticulous footwork. In contrast, Akasaka still hadn't moved from his back stance. Akasaka was acting as if Okonogi's footwork was simply a trick, which infuriated Okonogi. Okonogi moved fiercely and nimbly, in a manner completely different from how Akasaka was moving earlier. Akasaka remained calm, but Okonogi saw it differently. He can't react to my movements, so he's prepared to take damage in order to deal more.
Ah!
Akasaka couldn't defend himself from Okonogi's quick jab, and it connected with his face. It was a quick but light attack. Its purpose was to distract Akasaka and create an opening for Okonogi. Okonogi knew that Akasaka would use his arms to guard his face instinctively. Okonogi's real purpose was to attack his abdomen, which would then be unguarded. Of course, Akasaka didn't have enough time to guard himself. It took more than just good kinetic vision to prevent his attack. Only Okonogi, who trained for many years, had perfected the speed of that technique. Normal people would struggle helplessly while vomiting if they were to experience Okonogi's kick. It could even rupture internal organs. So it was pretty amazing that Akasaka was still on his feet.
What's the matter, Mr. Karate? Can't you fight back?
Too light.
What?
Akasaka mumbled something, but Okonogi couldn't hear. Actually, he did hear it, but Okonogi never imagined he could say such a thing in this situation, so he couldn't hear it. He couldn't comprehend it. Too light.
What did you just say?
Your attack is only meant to defeat your opponent. That's why there's no weight to it.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Karate nourishes you spiritually. To attack others, you have to learn to be attacked. When one learns how much pain and grief their own blow deals to others, they finally understand the meaning of striking another and being struck. You aren't even close to that level, and that's why your attack has no weight to it.
Are you saying that I'm still immature?
Okonogi attacked Akasaka again, but this time, Akasaka was different. Akasaka blocked Okonogi's fists and legs. Of course, Okonogi was still the only one attacking. But Akasaka had started to become much more aggressive. Now, as Okonogi attacked, his hands and legs were being injured. Okonogi instinctively sensed that he was in trouble. He'd thought Akasaka was just a police officer, but his movements were too dangerous. He was merciless. He was dangerous. So Akasaka's training and experience must far surpass Okonogi's. Wait, that dynamic heel kick isn't karate, is it? Akasaka's heel kick missed Okonogi's head by a millimeter. Fucking Eva moment.
You do something other than karate, don't you?
No, I only do karate.
Don't lie! Some of the moves you're doing aren't karate at all!
Okonogi was starting to become impatient. The reason Okonogi ridiculed martial arts as sports was because they were all hard-headed and only used set moves. This is how you strike in karate. This is how you punch in boxing. This is how you throw in judo. It's easy to learn, and that's why it's easy to win. But Akasaka was different. He said that he only did karate, and he must have spent unthinkable hours training. Yet he was flexible enough not to be confined only by formatted moves. That was understanding at a spiritual level. The spirit of martial arts isn't just forms. One simply learns forms to reach that spiritual level. Therefore, for one who has reached it, there are no forms. What Akasaka had was a philosophical spirit. Oh, he's philosophical, alright? Philosophically centrist. I'm disappointed in you.
Shit!
Akasaka stepped away from his original spot for the first time. He moved forward. He filled the space between Okonogi and himself with his inescapable conviction. As Akasaka walked closer to Okonogi, Akasaka's assault radius tried to swallow him whole. To be within that radius meant death. Okonogi walked backwards to avoid being in that radius. That was as a result of his queer-headed judgment, not because he was scared. Yo, he mad. You don't even know the meaning of an attack. I'll teach you just how insignificant it can be! As Okonogi moved backwards, his back hit the van he came in earlier. He was cornered. Having your back to a wall didn't mean you were at a disadvantage, but the more it was pressed against that wall, the further a disadvantage it became. If Okonogi let Akasaka come any closer, Okonogi wouldn't even be able to take a combat stance. Okonogi decided it immediately. The last chance he had was the moment before Akasaka took his next step. Akasaka's foot left the ground. He was taking another step. Now!
Go to hell!
No tricks, no feints. Okonogi lowered himself and attacked with everything he had. The attack was powerful enough to break Akasaka's ribcage and rupture his heart. I'm a professional, Okonogi told himself. I can't be defeated by this amateur.
I'm Okonogi of the Mountain Dogs!
Good for you. So, I don't know which one's saying that. I'm sorry, I don't know who said that. At that moment, Akasaka's eyes opened wide. CG, first one in since Oishi visited the grave, I think. So, not that long ago.
Whoa!
All the mountain dogs heard a noise. It wasn't the noise of people fighting. It was the noise of a traffic accident. Okonogi's blow missed by a slight amount, and Akasaka's fist struck inches away from Okonogi's face. There was a dent in the sliding door of the van. The windows on both sides had shattered, and it looked like the van was in an accident. Was it even possible for a human fist to do this? Well, I mean, I don't fucking know. Shizuo Hibajima, however you pronounce his name. Assuming that's scientifically accurate, it's technically possible. Time resumed its flow, and Okonogi knelt down, falling to the ground. Akasaka didn't miss on purpose. Akasaka couldn't control his fists because he put everything into one blow. Okonogi should thank Akasaka. If Akasaka had been able to control his attack better, Okonogi's face would have ended up like the van. However, although it didn't hit Okonogi's face, it shattered his spirit.
Good job, Akasaka. Clap, 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 clap.
Rika applauded as the pirate music starts up. But in this situation, it didn't sound like applause. It almost sounded like Akasaka's fighting spirit was popping like firecrackers. Akasaka pulled back his fist, turned around calmly, and then spoke. Who's next? I don't want to waste time, so why don't you come at me all at once? They knew, everyone knew, that there was no way to defeat Akasaka with their bare hands. They realized they needed weapons. They also needed more people. There should be a better equipped unit in the basement. All of a sudden, things began to move quickly. The remaining mountain dogs emerged from the basement. You are not permitted to fire on the surface! I repeat, do not fire on the surface! Phoenix 1, give us permission to collect R and retreat immediately! But the mountain dogs who just witnessed Akasaka's battle against Okonogi realized it was time for them to run. They didn't even care about Rika. Who would even think of taking Rika from him after seeing what Akasaka was capable of doing? When Okonogi regained his awareness, he jumped into a van with the mountain dogs as it drove away. Since Okonogi took off his intercom device to fight with Akasaka, he had no idea what had transpired in the basement. After the mountain dogs broke their promise with Rika, they were supposed to round up the remaining club members. But when Akasaka showed up, the dogs had to be divided into a ground force and a basement force, which altered the situation. Kasai had gone on a counterattack, and the other club members somehow climbed up from the well and helped him somehow. Does the word somehow have to be there? Dude, fucking... Like, one way, it doesn't matter. You can just say they climbed up from the well. But on the other, it's doing a lot of legwork by assuming, like, it's hard for them to climb back up to help. Like, sure, it's probably difficult, especially for, like, at least Satoko and Rena. At least. But, still, what the fuck? Well, no, they're all fucking country kids from the 80s. It should be easy to climb a fucking ladder. Why somehow? That's such a dumb word. Since the mountain dogs weren't allowed to fire on the surface, they realized it would make the situation worse if Kasai fired his guns once he came up after them. Okonogi was unreachable, so Nightingale 1 had ordered the retreat in his place. Who would bear the responsibility for this? It was probably Okonogi's fault for taking off his intercom device to fight against Akasaka, as he basically abandoned his job as a commander. Man's pride or whatever. But everything happened in the first place because Akasaka showed up. So maybe it was his triumph rather than Okonogi's blunder. Either way, everything was miraculous. But the mountain dogs hadn't run with their tails between their legs. They had simply retreated for the moment. When they returned, they would have enough men and enough arms, ready to kill all who stand in their way. And that would happen very soon. There was no time to waste.
Rika, I'm glad you're safe. Yeah, I am. Thanks to a miracle. No, it wasn't a miracle. We worked together and one of us, Akasaka, came to help you. That's all. Ow.
That's true. Something like this can't be called a miracle.
Okay, now it's our turn to attack.
Hell yeah. Time to murder some military men. I wouldn't be surprised. Are we in, like, the last fucking chapter of this chapter? How close am I to the end? I'm confused. In the basement, the club members were talking about their grand counterattack. Rika was a little disappointed that she couldn't have joined them, but she was happy that Akasaka told her what she had been waiting to hear. Rika told them about how heroic he had been, and he got a little embarrassed. Kasai was doing alright, but Shion wasn't doing too well. Of course, it wasn't life-threatening, but she couldn't hear well in her left ear, possibly due to being so close to an explosion. To test her hearing, Mion went around to Shion's left side and whispered some dirty words. She seemed to be able to hear them fairly well. Of course, she might have been hearing through her right ear, though. Shion decided to lie down on a tatami mattress in the torture room while Irie kept an eye on her. Mion was very worried, but Shion told her that she was okay, and forced her to go ahead with the next operation. Mion complained that Shion didn't understand her feelings. Now they would have to come up with an idea to rescue Tomitake from the clinic. They had Akasaka and Kasai on their side, both of whom were used to battles. Also, they had Irie, who knew about the secret basement of the clinic. They would have to get moving quickly, but they had to at least have a plan. It was almost 10:30 a.m. Because of what they had gone through, they were exhausted, and it felt like it was almost evening. But if they were at school, it would be only the second or the third period. They had to pull themselves together. They had to regain their fighting spirit. How convenient that this all happens on a fucking Sunday. Irie checked Shion's left ear with a penlight. I'm not a specialist, but your eardrum may have been damaged. Do you have a headache or feel dizzy at all? No, I'll be just fine. Irie wet his handkerchief and wiped Shion's face gently. Wet his handkerchief with what? Is there a sink down here? Are you surprised? That the manager of the Hinamizawa fighters was in a gunfight, I mean? Yeah, I am. I heard you were ready to give up your own life. Mayabara-san told me. Jeez. Things like that sound cool in the moment, but when you survive, they're pretty embarrassing, huh? Man. If something happens to you and I live, my sister will never forgive me for that. I don't have my loved one anymore, but Sis does. I don't mean to tease you, but you're talking about Satoshi-kun, aren't you? Well, I don't know. Who knows where he could be? I don't even know if he's alive or dead. I knew that line was coming. He's alive. Eh? Shion's thoughts stopped in their tracks when Irie answered immediately. Satoshi Hojo-kun is alive. He developed terminal symptoms due to excessive stress last year. Mion and the other club members had already told Shion about the current situation, so she kind of understood what he meant. I thought I could treat him with the same drug I used on Satoko-chan. But Satoko-chan was one of the very rare and lucky cases. Satoshi-kun's treatment has been very difficult. It's still going on. Satoshi-kun? He is still alive? I'm sorry for not telling you this until now. Satoshi-kun is in the basement of the clinic. Shion and Irie returned from the torture room. Shion looked very serious, as if she had gained the determination to fight. Keiichi and the others were just talking about how the enemy found where they were. Do you think there might be some kind of device on Dr. Irie's clothes? Not in his personal clothes, but something the clinic provides. Do you mean my coat? Excuse me, let me check. Shion checked Irie over like an inspector at an airport. Then she found a little button on the backside of his collar. It was a little round button. There was no reason why a button like this would be on the back of the collar. This is probably it. This is how they found us without following the car. Damn it! But as long as we have this button, it's possible for us to create a diversion, right? A decoy unit with this button can lure the enemy away. And while the clinic is short on staff, we attack and rescue Tomitake-san. I think that's the best way. The way I read that sentence makes it sound like we will beat up Tomitake and save him. In that case, the decoy unit should bring our foes to my hills. Yeah, that area would be perfect. It's pretty vast, so the enemy will have to bring lots of men, rendering the clinic practically empty. But we'll have no way of knowing how many will stay behind at the clinic. Mr. Tomitake is there, so they'll probably leave an appropriate number of men to guard him.
In that case, we should add something they want more than Tomatake to the decoy unit. Are you sure, Rika? Yes. As long as I'm with everyone else in Satogo's Hills, I won't be caught. Only we club members know the hill well enough, so maybe it's a good idea to use us as the decoy unit.
Yeah, that works. So the adult unit will attack the clinic while the decoy unit lures the enemy away. What's the chance of success? As long as Akasaka-san pretends not to see anything, since I heard you're a policeman. Kasai spoke while loading his shotgun. I'm off duty now. Akasaka replied while checking an automatic pistol. He hadn't used this particular gun before, but he was used to handling guns. He was prepared to fire, too. You know, I've always kind of wanted to go to a shooting range, but I just never have. Like, the only thing I've ever, like, the only deadly weapon I've ever used for, like, purpose of actually, like, hitting something. I've never attacked a person in my life, mind you. The only thing I've ever injured somebody with is a TV remote. That's a story for another time, though. We used a bow and arrow in gym class. I'm surprised they actually let fucking high schoolers use compound bows in gym class with actual arrows? Like, they do a safety course and everything. Like, it worked. No one ever actually was unsafe with it that I know of, but yeah, insane. Irie tried to memorize how to remove the safety, but he looked nervous. Have you ever used a machine gun before? No, I've only ever used handguns. Then maybe you should get used to it. Make sure you have a full magazine at all times, and have another gun just in case the magazine gets stuck. Kasai-san, is that a shotgun? The odd number shots are slug bullets. They can suppress enemies as well as destroy walls. Yo, neat.
Wow, I know people call you Shotgun Tatsu, but you really are a shotgun expert, huh?
Shotguns are very deadly. Therefore, even without firing a shot, my opponents may surrender. By the way, I have some bulletproof vests. You should wear them. I know how fucking deadly shotguns are. Not in a real-life scenario, but I beat Uncharted 1 on Brutal mode, and the shotgun enemies were the bane of my fucking existence, because they one-shot you, which makes fucking sense, but they were fucking frustrating. Kasai sounded very dependable, but at the same time, he reminded everyone that this operation would be a very dangerous one. It wasn't a simple fist fight. Even a veteran soldier can die in a gun battle. There is always a chance of death, regardless of how well trained you are. In fact, Kasai and Akasaka were the only people who could be depended upon. Kasai talked Irie out of carrying a gun because it might be dangerous for him to have one. Someone could get injured by friendly fire. Mion suggested that maybe there should be more people on the team, but both Kasai and Akasaka refused because those who couldn't even handle guns at all might end up as dead weight.
Well, then I have to go, huh? We lack firepower. I'll bring my Ingram to support you.
But are you okay, Shion? How's your ear?
Oh, it's all better now. I'm back to normal. Sorry to make you worry.
Shion, what did I just say?
Of course I heard it.
Mion had tricked her. Mion didn't say anything. Shion still couldn't hear out of her left ear. Shion, it's too dangerous! To be honest with you, you shouldn't even be in the decoy unit. You should just hide somewhere.
Sis, listen. I now have a reason why I have to go to the clinic. But if I mention it, Satoko is going to want to come too. But she just can't. There will be an indoor fight. The enemy will fire at us.
Do you mean... Mion sensed it. She sensed the reason why Shion had to go to the clinic. That was why she didn't say anything more. If she was in Shion's position, She would go even if neither of her ears could hear.
It's too dangerous, Shion-san! Please think it over!
Satoko! Shion will join the rescue unit. Satoko, the decoy unit is counting on you. Concentrate on your job!
Chi-chan. You know, right, Rena-san? You know I'm not planning to die. Yeah, I do. Determined girls can never die.
Need I bring up Mayakashi?
That's right. Even if they kill me, I won't die.
Okay. Shion and Rena gave each other a high five. Crazy bitches anonymous, right?
Okay, then it's decided. Let's get moving. See? I'll take the button. Here you are. Good luck, Rika-chama. You too, Shi. You believe strongly in a miracle, and now it's going to happen. Therefore, this is a chance that God has given you. I think there were days I didn't believe. I think someone even admonished me for that. It is difficult to keep believing, isn't it? But you believed. You regretted not believing, so you believed. So please cherish this day. Your strong will brought about today, and you will no longer have to suffer what you have been suffering up until now. Hey, are you my sis's new friend? I don't know your name, but thank you. Yeah, I think it'll go well. Of course it'll go well. Oyashiro-sama guarantees it.
Yeah, dorks. Alright. Yeah, this would have been like a fucking 2-hour episode last time, huh? I'm glad I split it when I did. The Mountain Dogs had retreated and reorganized their units. They were now ready to attack again. Takano was furious at them for not being able to bring R back to the clinic, even though they had her in their hands. She gave an order to capture her with all the Mountain Dogs' forces put together. Their vehicles were at the clinic, and they were all standing by for the order to attack. Takano wasn't the only one who was furious. Okonogi was as angry as her. That rookie policeman from 5 years ago had grown. He even made Okonogi yield. He couldn't accept that he was defeated, so he was bent on revenge. The reason why the order to attack was held off was because the signal from the transmission device on Irie was momentarily interrupted. They interpreted it to mean that Irie had gone even farther down into the basement. The Mountain Dogs assumed that the club members would go even further underground and try to escape by using some kind of secret passageway. That passageway couldn't be that long. They'd have to come up to the surface eventually. The Mountain Dogs were planning to catch them as soon as they surfaced. The villagers were too busy with finishing setup for the festival, so they had no idea what was going on. By this time, the Mountain Dogs had shut down the telephone network. They were afraid the club members would call the police. The only way into the town was being watched by the blockade unit, so the club members couldn't escape that way. R and her friends had to come up to the surface. They couldn't be thinking of staying underground until things settled down. Their lifeline, Tomitake, was in captivity. They couldn't be stupid enough to think of attacking the clinic to rescue him. More than likely, they would try to escape from the village on foot. They would probably call the police to help them. The patrol unit had several cars driving around the village, their eyes peeled for the signal of the transmitter or those on the run. It was time to wait patiently. The battle had returned to the starting point, and the balance of power was even again. Scheduled report from Skylark 2. All clear.
He can't stay quiet for that long. We have to be patient. They'll turn up. By the way, where's the princess?
I believe she's interrogating First Lieutenant Tomitake. She's trying to talk him into joining our side.
At this point, that may be the only way to settle matters peacefully. Good thing we captured him alive. With the princess gone and no phone calls from Tokyo, I can finally enjoy this cool air-conditioned breeze.
Commander, there's a radio call from Tokyo. It's from Nomura-san and it's for you, not for the Major.
Good grief. If the phone's no good, they'll use a radio, huh? Well, I wonder what the Queen in Tokyo wants from me now. Okonogi of the Mountain Dogs here. Over.
Okay. Tomitake was being held in a small meeting room. He was shoved under a desk. He was restrained so tightly that he couldn't even turn around. Takano was sitting in a chair next to the table, staring at a whiteboard. It outlined the research plan that was to be shut down. But Takano wasn't really reading it. She was just staring. Neither of them said a thing. Silence filled the meeting room. It's almost 11 a.m. What a long day. I was woken up so early, and it's not even noon yet. Tomitake didn't reply. Jiro-san, do you think you can help me? I don't need the mountain dogs. I only want you. The mountain dogs can't comfort me. I finally realized that your insensitivity is the only thing that can. Jiro-san, you knew that, right? That was why you acted that way, right? You thought there was no use in trying to sympathize, and you tried to comfort me. That's what you thought, right? You only pretended to be insensitive to help me enjoy myself, didn't you? I'm not speaking to you as Major Takano. I'm speaking to you as Mio Takano. You still won't talk to me? A hostage may only give his name, rank, and identification number. Takano hung her head. I don't have the key to those handcuffs. Sorry. That's fine. I didn't ask you to remove them. Would you like a cup of coffee? No thanks. I don't want you to have to help me to go to the bathroom in this position. It was hardly a conversation, but Takano was happy that Tomitake had finally replied. However, that wouldn't solve any of their problems. If you must kill me, I'm alright with that. I made my peace when I was caught. Yeah, I was planning to kill you tonight. I'm glad you're prepared for that. Good. Then my resolve won't go to waste. Hey, don't you want to live? If you promise to join me, you won't have to die. My superiors say there's no point in keeping you alive, but I'll work something out. Who are your superiors? I don't know. The person who contacts me calls herself Nomura, but I'm sure that's not her real name. I really don't know. But you must have talked to her before you decided to do this, right? I only talked to her a few times. When I think back, she probably just wanted to use me. But at the time, I thought she was the only person who could understand me. I understand. I knew there was a time when you needed someone to help you. I wish I could have been there for you. Yeah, if you were there, that would have been so nice. Nobody has died yet. But I'm going to kill them. You have your masterminds, but there are other masterminds in Tokyo who oppose them. Most of them want to hush up this issue. You may think it's too late to do anything about it, but you're wrong. There is still something you can do. You can make this whole thing disappear. And my grandfather's research on the syndrome will disappear too, won't it? Takano-san, what do you want to happen? Takano closed her eyes for a bit while she came up with an answer. Her grandfather's research had been insulted. She wanted those with higher positions of authority to take it seriously. Nomura could make that happen. When the final operation was enacted, the higher-ups of the country would have to read the article, and they would have to believe what's in it. They will authorize the execution of the emergency manual. And yes, that would create an irreversible disaster. But at the same time, the disaster would prove that her grandfather's article had merit. Will you be satisfied with that? Sure, I'll be satisfied. That is the purpose of my life. I asked you before. You're going to disappear after this operation, aren't you? Mio Takano's purpose will be fulfilled, and she will vanish from the face of the earth. You'll return to being Miyoko Tanashi. That's your real name, isn't it?
How long had it been since she heard that name? Takano closed her eyes slightly.
Yeah, that's right. Soon enough, I will return to being Miyoko Tanashi. Tanashi Miyoko lost her parents, and we just reversed her name and localization for no reason, and was sent to an orphanage as a little girl. She died after being tortured. That's what you said, right? Yes, I did. I'll have to go back inside of that metal fence. Have you experienced something like that, Jiro-san?
Takano told Tomitake about her horrible experiences, which were simply unimaginable for normal people.
I'm going to return to that place. And this time, Grandfather won't come help me. So, I will die. If I was dead, I wouldn't exist here. If I wasn't here, then there wouldn't be an Irie Institute. I wouldn't be stuck living out such a bizarre fate. You're planning to die, aren't you? I'm supposed to be rewarded after the operation, but I don't believe that. I might be suddenly killed one day. Don't you have someone who you can trust? My clients are just clients. They're not my allies. But the mountain dogs are. I paid them more than enough. But you can't truly trust them, can you? They are my allies. They caught you, and they're trying to catch R and her friends as we speak. They're helping me. But that's not the kind of ally you need right now. You're right. They aren't the kind of ally I need right now.
Takano paused. She paused because Tomitake had just said exactly what she had been thinking. Since the day Tomitake disappeared, she had been feeling restless. Takano had to admit that she needed Tomitake.
Jiro-san, I paid the mountain dogs a few 100 million yen to be on my side. I have a little more than 100 million yen left. How much do I need to pay you? I can't speak. You should think about how much it really costs to get what you truly want. That's rather a pretentious thing to say in this situation. You want me to say it's something I can't buy with money, right? Why don't you give up? You may be able to tame the mountain dogs with your money, but that won't work with me. But I want you on my side. If you want, I'll give you everything, not just money. You can do whatever you want with me. If you want me to lick your shoes, I will. Isn't that enough?
Tomitake didn't reply. It was an affirmation by silence, but a signal to Takano that he had already told her everything he meant to say, in the most saddening form of silence for her.
I'll make you breakfast every morning. I'll show up before you when we meet. I'll never make you wait just to test you. Isn't that enough, Chiro-san?
Tomitake didn't say a word. He couldn't see her face under the desk, but he could sense it. This wasn't the time to say anything to her. Remaining silent was the only thing he could do. Suddenly the phone rang. Takano sniffled once and picked it up.
This is Takano. I see. Understood. I'll be right there.
Takano stood up as she put down the phone.
The mountain dogs found R. We found Irie's signal too. They must already know the roads are closed and are trying to escape through the mountains on foot. It won't be easy to hunt them there, but we're actually at an advantage since there's nobody else around. See you, Jiro-san. I think this will be our final conversation. I wish I could have heard you say something at the end of it all.
And still, Tomitake stayed silent. Takano ran out of the room. She didn't look like she was hurrying back to work. Isn't that the same background they had in the fucking orphanage? Huh.
Alright, I imagine we're gonna have a fight scene, so I think this is probably my best spot right now to stop this episode. I can only assume I'm in the final chapter, so we probably... I would assume I have 2 episodes left minimum. We might have more, but 2 left minimum. This is what, episode 26? So 28 would be the finale. I don't know, but we'll see. Either way, that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button, and if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye! Yeah.